So Nathan, you told our producers that you don't have any DSA members to vote for in Louisiana, and you wouldn't call yourself a DSA voter, but you definitely say you're a socialist and are sympathetic to the DSA platform. So what about them is interesting to you?
I wrote a book called Why You Should Be a Socialist. So
why should we be a socialist? Tell me.
Well, you asked what the problems are, why people are upset, and J.D. Vance actually gets some of it there. I interviewed Mamdani when he was running early, and he said he talked to New Yorkers and listened to their anger. Some of the things people are mad about: the rent is too high, young people feel like they can't afford a house, they'll never buy a house, cost of childcare is too high, they see a bloated military budget deploying our tax dollars for death and destruction, they see their jobs being replaced with AI, they feel they have no rights at their place of employment, they have no family leave, they're drowning in student debt, billions of dollars are being spent for ICE to drag your neighbors away, throw them in a cage, or shoot them in their car. Then we have a totally out-of-control climate catastrophe with global warming spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, trillionaires are being minted while people are sleeping in the streets. And so a lot of young people look at that situation, they see it as crazy and unjust, they're angry, and they want someone to do something about it.
All right, that's a long list of very serious problems, many that young people have gone through in generations past, I might add, but there are some new ones, and I understand the AI questions for sure. We cover that a lot on this show. But Monte, you're not a card-carrying member of DSA, but you also support many of their policies. Why are you interested in what they have to offer, and what problems do you see that they're solving, or at least claiming that they're going to solve?
I think that democratic socialism operates as a guardrail to where capitalism fails. We've seen over the past year where we have watched tax law favor the wealthiest among us instead of the working and lower class, who it should fail. We have so many systems in our country that are not working, one of them being healthcare. We spend more per person than any other developed nation, and we have the worst health outcomes, including infant death and life expectancy and preventable disease. We can do better. I believe that they address the income equality while also saying, hey, we can do better by the numbers. We can actually make this better for everybody, not just the few, because I see it as a guardrail to the greed and the inequality we're seeing everywhere by implementing programs that allow for us to get something for our taxes. I don't believe that American money should be going overseas when Americans need help here. Our tax dollars can help us here. We don't have a money problem. We have a priority problem. And a lot of people in the U.S. are suffering, and that money needs to stay here. Voters need to have more say in where their tax dollars go, and tax law should always favor the lower and the middle class.
Well, I would agree with you that I would like better stewardship of my tax dollars, absolutely. But Nathan, we hear a lot about the billionaires. One of our reporters just detailed how billionaires are actually dumping money into the DSA when it's saying it's this grassroots movement. So are there like good billionaires as long as they're, donating to socialist causes, whereas Elon Musk, who's a trillionaire but created thousands of millionaires when SpaceX went public, is evil and one who should be taxed to death?
Well, I mean, that's the report that you had really overstates the number of rich people who support these kinds of policies. It's actually very difficult to fundraise on the left. And in that report, you heard that the DSA's budget is actually $6 million. It's tiny. And what you didn't do in that report is you didn't compare DSA spending to corporate and other PAC spending. And if you start looking at that, you'll start to see that they're outspent like 50 to 1. If you look at the billionaires who donated to Cuomo, yeah, you find one eccentric rich person here and there. But Mamdani was massively outspent by the rich. They poured money. And around the country, you see this. We're seeing this in the Michigan Senate race right now, where Abdul El-Sayed is being outspent 50 to 1 by AIPAC. They're spending $50 million. So you've got to do the comparison if you're going to have a real analysis of who's funded by the rich.
All right, Monte, there has been this debate, too, within DSA and promotion of groups that have been sanctioned by the U.S. government for terrorism, Hamas, for example. Is that a group that you support, or is that an outlier in terms of what DSA is pushing?
There is absolutely no promotion of Hamas. There is a defense of the Palestinian people to be able to live and survive. Because what you cannot have is a war with a region that does not have a standing army. When you are attacking hospitals and schools and you are intentionally targeting civilians, you're not defending yourself. You're also not targeting a terrorist group. You're targeting civilians. I'm talking about the nation state of Israel doing that. There is no movement within the DSA to support Hamas, but it is to defend the civilians in Palestine, to defend their right to live and live freely, and to prevent settlement and abuse in the West Bank. It's a legal apartheid and a genocide that's going on, and that's not just my opinion. That also includes the International Criminal Court.
I think we can have you back to debate those facts. I think a lot of those are opinions, but we are happy to have you.
They're the consensus of human rights groups around the world.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.